a DIY I'm super excited about because it involves a long sleeve maxi dress, and the reason I'm excited about it is because of the dramatic difference from start to finish. If you're a girl, you more than likely have a long sleeve jersey maxi dress in your possession, if not one without sleeves. And the reason being is they're so damn versatile. You can wear it, I'm stuck. You can wear it during the day, out to a club, it doesn't really matter. With the change of accessories and shoes, you can completely change the entire mood of the thing. So this is what I have. So it's your standard jersey maxi dress. It's going to be a mixture of cotton and an elastic fabric. So this is actually viscose and spandex, and viscose will work just fine. But what you really need to be aware of is you want to make sure that the fabric is nice and smooth. You're going to see when I get into the DIY process and I have a camera closer to the fabric, but you got to make sure that the ribs are not really prominent. If it's a more open weave, it's going to stretch about 9 feet longer than you want it to when you cut it. Because what we do is when we cut it, you're going to stretch it, and that's going to curl the seam inwards and give a more clean look. With a wider rib, when you cut it and pull it, you're just pulling and pulling and pulling, and it gets so long and it pills, it sheds everywhere, and it looks ridiculous, and you'll be mad. Trust me, I've been there, so learn from my mistakes. So the thing with the technique that I'm going to show you, and it's a really common technique that I use, and I used it when I had my Etsy shop because it was basically the basis of my shop. It was the bulk of my designs were done in this fashion. So this weave, you can actually apply with anything. You can apply it with shirts, leggings, and it's quite versatile in the sense that men can use it as well. So the techniques that I show you, it doesn't necessarily have to be applied to a dress. So if you're a man and you have a long sleeve shirt and you want to try this, do the whole back of a band t-shirt. It'll look really, just make sure that it's not 1989 skinny puppy tour shirt or something like that, because you will really hate yourself. But you probably wouldn't do that anyway. These are the things you're going to need. You're going to need your maxi dress. One of these. This is a white eyeliner. So they have dressmaker's pens, but I use a white eyeliner because I can use it on my face and I can use it on my clothes. So the purpose of this is if you're a little bit more modest and you don't want to show too much up front. You want to be able to measure and then draw a line on the inside of the fabric so you know where to cut. So you're going to turn the fabric inside out, the whole dress, and then measure. So you're going to do one of these. Measure from neckline to about where you want it to stop. So say you want it to stop right about here. So you're going to say 7 inches. And then you're going to do the same thing to the dress, 7 inches down, and then you're going to mark it. I'm kind of a let the chips fall where they may kind of gal, and I'm interested to see what happens if we freestyle the thing. I have a design in mind, but I want to take this a little bit more extravagant and risque. So if you are a little bit more modest, obviously do not go as deep as I'm going to go, but we're going to do like a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. So those that are more fly by the seat of their pants, a little bit more like, hey, let's just try anything. And then as far as those who are a little bit more modest, got the best of both worlds going. So this is something you'll need. Where did my scissors go? You're going to need scissors. Eventually, I will find mine, but you're going to need scissors, fabric scissors preferably, but you can use any other scissors that you have. And you're also going to need a needle and thread. Very important. So I'm going to show you 2 methods, but I prefer sew the thing shut because it's really important that we keep it good and tight. And when you tie it, sometimes the knot can come loose. But if you watch my earlier videos when I apply this technique, you'll find that I actually tie it because I like to show you no sew. But at the very end of this video, what I'm going to do, if you don't know how to sew, I'm going to show you a very basic lock stitch. It's really easy, just so you know how you can do this for yourself. So stay tuned to the end of the video to see the lock stitch. And if you're looking at my shirt, I will show you my shirt. Link in the description down below. It is Cinema Strange. I'm going to stand on a chair. Ta-da! The first thing I want to do is to fold the dress in half, but it needs to be folded in such a way that we separate the front of the dress from the back of the dress. The reason being is that whatever you do when you cut, you're going to automatically do to the back of the dress as well. So we want to keep the front and the back separate from one another so we can keep the design separate as well. The annoying part is, as you can see, we align the shoulder seams, and since this is a maxi dress, you have to make sure that the seam is perfectly aligned from the armpit all the way down to the hem. The reason that it's so meticulous is because when you start to do your cuts, those cuts are going to be off center and they're not going to look quite right unless the seams are aligned. To cut the chest piece, what you want to do is start just below the neckband. You never want to cut into the neckband. For a basic design, you're going to end it right about here, which is about 4.5, 5 inches. We're going here. So when you begin to cut, your first cut is always going to be the longest. Make sure to use your shoulder seams as your guide because you don't want to cut into those shoulder seams, because once you do, it's all over. If you're going for a deeper V, that first cut is automatically going to be the longest because we're working in a triangular shape. Your first cut being the longest, the next cut after that is going to be a little bit shorter, next cut after that a little bit shorter, and so on and so on. Your first cut doesn't need to be nearly as long if you're not going to go for as deep of a V as I've created. So if you're going for a little bit of a shorter V, your first incision is going to be a bit shorter, so the gradient comes into a smaller triangle. It's always better to cut less than you need as opposed to too much, because you could always go back in and fix it like I am here. Stretching it seems a bit unnecessary, but it actually creates a much neater look because what you're doing is you're taking the ends and curling them inward, which also makes it easier to weave. Just be careful. If you pull too hard, the strips will snap. So this next move is optional. I just really like the way that it looks. We're going to fold the dress in half. Again, align the shoulder seams. Really important to align the seams just so that we don't have any off-center cuts. So you're actually going to have your side seams completely touching one another. You don't have to separate the front from the back. As you can see, the chest design is at the front. Make sure that front and back seams are touching. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to create sort of a venting at the hips. And in order to do that, we're going to figure out where we want it to go. So you're going to want to pinch the fabric upward. I would say probably about 2 inches from the hip. So you're going to pinch the fabric upward in the place where you really want it to sit. And then you're going to grab hold and then fold it underneath. Folded this way, what we're doing is we're replicating the exact same design on the back of the dress. Cut it into a diamond shape. And when you're working with a pattern such as this, you always want to start and end with the tiniest little cut. And onto the weaving portion. I like to use the lid of a heavy-duty Tupperware container. I find it works really well. You can use a pillowcase, that'll work just fine. You want to take the very first strip and you pull it underneath and over the neckline. Second strip, underneath, and then through the first. Underneath, through that one. Underneath, and through. And you're going to work on down the line. Underneath, and through. Underneath, through. So you're going to keep doing that, working your way through, and you see it creates sort of a ladder shape. And you're going to do that all the way to the very bottom, leaving the last little loop with a little last strip because we need that. Don't do the very last strip. So this is what it's going to look like, but you want to pull those off to the side because we're going to do it again. This time we're going to do the same method, but in reverse. We're working our way upward. So underneath and through, underneath, through. So we're going to keep on doing it all the way up to the very, very top. And as you can see, it kind of creates kind of a spider web effect. All the way up, and then that strip you want to go underneath and over the neckline. On the way back down, we're employing the same method with one subtle change. We're going to twist the strip before pulling the one beneath it through. So twist the second strip, pull the third one through, twist it, pull the one beneath that through, and keep twisting before pulling it through on the way down. I've left the smallest strip on the shirt I've cut unwoven because this is meant to act as the anchor. So using the strip that you have in hand, the one that we've woven and twisted, cut the last bit in half and then tie it to the smallest strip. After you've tied it, make sure that you haven't tied it too tight. What you want to do is sew just above that knot and then sew the knot itself, and this is going to secure it in place. After you've sewn it, cut the little bits off at the end, and there you have it. For the vents at the side, we're going to do a very basic ladder, pulling the first strip through the hole at the top, and then the second strip through that first, third strip through the second, and then so on. And instead of sewing it, we're just going to tie it. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Feel free to repeat the process in the back, but I quite like the effect. I'm just going to leave it alone. I tried to use my arm, but it just didn't work. As unconventional as it may seem, it's highly effective to just put your leg into the sleeve and weave from there. Second strip under and over the first, third strip under and over the second, fourth strip under and over the third, and you get the idea going straight down. Feel free to use the twisting method that we used in the weave in the front pattern if you want to go that way, or you can just keep it straight. Either way, it looks equally as cool. Weave it almost down to the bottom, leaving the smallest strip unwoven. That's our anchor. So take the loop that you have in hand from which you've woven, cut it in half, and then tie it to that very last strip.